And
Well,
so does that add up with what we've heard about them traveling? And it does, because there's actually relativity in the Bible.
I
It's
think it adds up. It's the only, it solves the inertia problem, right? Because you're not technically moving. You, you're, 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 you're essentially dropping through dimensionalities. So you're relative, but you're basically folding space and time. So you're you're not moving, you're just kind of falling through.
yeah,
And
so they would be moving space and time around them.
right. So
Yeah.
therefore, no inertia, no inertial effect. It doesn't explain, some of the stuff that we've seen here on Earth, but I think those might be unmanned probes, like the Tic Tacs. I think they're unmanned, to some degree. I think those are the probes that are here right now that are just constantly monitoring before the big ship gets here. But that's just me,
That would be the Watchers.
Yeah, the Watchers. Yeah.
The
So,
Watchers. Hi.
um,
Yeah.
but
So it explains. So in the Bible, it actually says, that each day for man for Jesus is a thousand years for us. So quite
each
literally,
day for Jesus is
quite
for us.
and so quite literally, that is the theory of relativity right there in the Bible, thousands of years before Einstein uh, came up with that.
Well,
Um,
what if that just means that he's on a different planet? And all right, so not to break it down here, what it God, I just had a coughing bout. Um, Remember that scene in Interstellar where they go down to the surface of the water planet, and every minute that they spend there is
like
like 100
10 years.
on Earth?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And 100 on Earth and 10 for the guy
Yeah.
in orbit. Yeah.
What if that's what that means? That he's out there.
Yeah.
It's not literal. I mean, it's not literal to like his genetics, but it it's the Bible trying to tell us how far away he is.
Yeah. I mean, that's and it. And if you're going through, it doesn't matter how you're traveling. If you're just putting through space, or if you're going super fast, it's the gravity and it's the speed that changes how time is perceived. So yes, if we have these an advanced civilization that is going through higher dimensions or wormholes through higher dimensions, then time would be very distorted, just like it was in Interstellar, because that's what they did. Remember, they went through a wormhole that was opened, and they were in a whole nother. Well, eventually, he was in a higher dimension, where he
Right. That's why I
was.
love that movie.
I love that movie too. That is one of my favorite movies,
And
and every time
contrary
I
to
watch it, I get
yeah,
more.
contrary to popular belief, Nolan did bring in like physicists and people to consult with.
They
And
did consult with one physicist. It was Sarfati's buddy. Geez, I can't remember what his name was, but he did help with that. Especially with the Tazarek and the four-dimensional scenery and what that would look like. It was Kip Thorne who helped with
okay. Yeah,
yeah.
okay. Okay, that makes sense actually.
I love that movie because it what a challenge to visually depict what it would look like to go up a dimension. And they did
Right.
such
It
job
was
with
mind
that.
blowing.
Yeah. And they did such an amazing job. And and then to find out, well, I don't want to give away spoilers, but
It's no. There's a okay. So here's the thing. Yeah, all right. You don't come from the pop culture world. I do. I'm gonna give you a little rundown here. Uh, Spoilers exist for like, let's say, the first 4 months. I'd say You want to
Okay.
give people at least 4 months, and if they haven't if they have not sought it out by then, that's their problem. It's not
Okay.
yours.
All right. Well, I
But if
appreciate.
you're in like weeks, you can't do that. Like, I will not talk about the three body problem. I won't even hint at anything about it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, and I'm gonna look it up. So you've given me
Number
the
one,
light.
by the way, but you know what this does for the topic? Guess what? It was the number one watch series on Netflix. So, and it is all about alien contact. So that just shows you that the audience, the general audience, right? The everyday Joe, to be able to comprehend a series like that, I mean, I think we're getting there, Teresa.
Yeah, it's another part of disclosure, right? It's what Professor um
Well, it's what the HDA wants to do.
it's what Professor Simon talked about in the last video that we where we spoke about him, where he said that there was a United Nations decision to do like a 25-year drip 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 disclosure campaign. And so for the top movie on Netflix to be apparently about aliens, like you just said, it sounds to me like that's another part of the drip drip disclosure. And it's happening. It's not happening the way people wanted or they thought, but it is happening. And we're part of it. Professor Simon is part of it. The way they keep putting movies out, and getting people to think about it and, desensitized to it. And people are having these discussions. And you and I went to a talk earlier in the year about put on by the Aetherius Society about whether Jesus was an extraterrestrial. I mean, that was the title of it, and nobody had a heart attack. There weren't protests in the streets. People get it. I was even talking to a family member who was very extremely involved in the Jehovah Witness faith. And I thought this family member would be the last person to ever admit that we're talking about extraterrestrials. And this family member is also an engineer. And so I was very surprised when this Jehovah Witness family member actually came to me and said, "Yeah, I think you're right. We are talking about extraterrestrials, but then we could both agree that capital G God, the overarching source of everything, is not an extraterrestrial, and that is something else." So Stuck Being Jessica says, "Do you think something may be attached to you, like some sort of energy?" Are you asking me, Jessica?
Yeah, she was asking.
Yeah.
This because
So
that was from a
think
while back.
I think I think
Yeah,
that
do you have a hitchhiker?
I think that I come from a family line that has had contact for generations, going back all the way to the 14 and the 1500s with William Tyndale, the Bible translator. And that was kind of why I brought that up, because I think that he was also an experiencer. And we know that they tend to follow certain family lines. That's very well documented and known. And I think that I come from a family, coincidentally, on both sides. Um, I think I come from one of these families that has ongoing contact. And there are various theories I have about why that is. But I think that I
Yeah,
think
and you're
that
gonna be talking. You're gonna be talking about one of those bloodlines. In the film that we're doing right now. And how
yeah,
it could tie into what we're researching here, with the Dudley Road, the witches, the Salem witch trial, and the Bridgewater Triangle.
yeah, I'm very excited. You're doing such a great job with that project. I can't wait for you to show everybody what you have so far, and
Yeah,
I'm
and
really excited to, talk about that project. It's really a cool project, and you've done such an amazing job.
yeah, and a little update. So I did finally get in touch with the Bridgewater Triangle researchers, like the guys who know they did a movie on it already, and they're gonna help me with the Bridgewater stuff. And he's gonna help me, navigate the area, yada, 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 get in touch with witnesses. He's also going to do an interview himself, but we also have interviews from people from Homeland Security who won't even go on cam.
Wow.
Yeah, they won't even go on camera. Um, and they had a sighting at Dudley Road. So not only are we going to be going back to like the colonial times, but we're going to keep it uh running parallel with uh, 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 what was going on in the past to what is happening now. And is the area just cursed, or is there something to do with the ley lines here or bloodlines? That's where you'll come in. I'm bringing in a remote viewer to see if there's any connection between the three. So I'm pretty much pulling out all the stops on this first film, and yeah, so it's gonna be really fun. It'll debut in October. It'll debut in 3 parts. So part one will be Dudley Road. Part two will be the witch trials. Part three will be Bridgewater Triangle. And then when it's done, you'll be able to watch it as one feature length film.
That's great. I can't
Yeah.
wait for people. I've seen um what you showed me was just fantastic. You're so good at this, and I know that this is just going to be a hit, and people are really going to like it. The content's
Yeah.
good. You've done
Yeah.
a
And then I mean, it doesn't even stop there because my second movie that I've already signed on to do is a documentary about the whole Mario Woods story. And luckily, Dan Zetterstrom of that UFO podcast is going to help me with that. Um, and the sponsor of the show is going to help me with that. Getting down there, getting it all recorded. So, a lot on my plate, and that's why I'm gonna end the season of Total Disclosure podcast because I need to go work on stuff like that. But I think it's fun. Before we go, I wanted to talk about something because I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember when they turned on the LHC?
yes.
Do you remember the kid that said that when they did that they like broke our universe and shifted us into like another multiversal, like a a, a many world theory kind of thing, where we were collectively shifted into another timeline.
Like another timeline. Yeah, I do
Right.
remember something about that. Yeah.
Do you think? Listen, I want to tell a story, but I don't. Not just it's not just deja vu for me. Something changed, like in everyday life, all of a sudden. And I don't. What day did they turn that thing on?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
Turned
I
it
don't
off and
know.
on a few
Does
times.
anyone maybe
Off.
someone in the chat, if someone you could be nice enough, find out what the day is where they turned it on. I'm not because I'm not gonna lie. I've said it before. All of a sudden, like just something in me changed. I don't know what it was, but like my everyday life became different. The way I perceived it, like from the inside out, like it was different. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to. I can't convey it into words. I can't quite. I can't quite tell you exactly what I mean, but something feels different.